Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into why a gifted child's intense, wild imagination is actually a massive cognitive superpower and absolutely not a behavioral problem that needs fixing. Look, if you've ever spent time with a highly creative, gifted kid, you already know their minds just seem to operate on a totally different frequency, right? Well, today, we're going to unpack exactly what that frequency is and how we can all tune into it.
So let's start with a scenario I think we're all pretty familiar with. Picture a typical classroom. You've got a child staring blankly out the window during a math lesson. Their eyes are totally glazed over and they seem completely disengaged from the world around them. Now, the immediate assumption, they're just not paying attention. They're drifting off. But what if we're completely misreading the whole situation? What if we're just looking at the surface and entirely missing an incredibly active, vibrant process happening right underneath?
See, this is where a massive disconnect happens. What adults usually label as laziness or spacing out is often a child deeply engaged in a rich internal narrative. That 8-year-old zoning out during a boring math drill, they might actually be using those exact same math concepts in their head to invent a complex tax system for a fantasy kingdom of dragons. Their mind is literally working overtime, just not on the immediate, structured task in the way we expected them to.
Now we have to understand what's actually driving this. And that brings us to the core concept of our explainer today, Imaginational Overexcitability, or OE for short. It's a concept identified by psychologist Kazimir Dabrowski in his theory of positive disintegration. Essentially, it's a recognized hardwired intensity. We're talking about a vastly heightened capacity for vivid imagery, fantasy, and creativity. For these kids, imagination isn't just some playful pastime. It's a critical, powerful tool for innovation, for understanding super complex ideas, and for processing some really deep emotions.
You've probably noticed the signs in everyday life. We're talking about kids creating elaborate imaginary kingdoms, complete with their own economies, histories, and super detailed rules. Or maybe they have imaginary friends that stick around way longer than is considered typical. But here's the catch. This intensity works like a giant megaphone for both the good and the bad. Because their imagination is just so powerful, they might also have rich, recurring, and highly vivid nightmares about global events or hypothetical disasters. Their imagination just amplifies their fears and what-if scenarios to a level that feels incredibly real to them.
Section 1. A misunderstood superpower and the paradigm shift.
Let's break down exactly how this gets misunderstood, because honestly, the stakes here are incredibly high. When a child zones out, it is so frequently misdiagnosed as ADHD, when in reality, they're just engaged in really deep internal visualization. Or when they get locked into intense, repetitive role play, adults might flag it as an autism spectrum trait, but they miss the fact that this imaginative play is actually a display of profound social empathy and perspective taking. And here's the one that frustrates parents the most. When a child refuses to do repetitive homework just so they can passionately argue historical what-ifs, that isn't them being oppositional or defiant. No, that is a child with a strong drive for deeper meaning and truth. Misinterpreting these behaviors can lead us down the path of a completely wrong support plan.
And we really have to remember that this imagination is not a casual switch it on and off kind of thing. It can be incredibly intense and genuinely overwhelming. A kid with unguided imaginational overexcitability might literally lie awake at night, their brain just endlessly spinning out detailed dystopian futures or existential worries, totally preventing them from getting any sleep. If left unsupported, this beautiful gift can turn into a huge source of anxiety and burnout.
Section 2. Nurturing at home and school. The playbook for guides.
Okay, so what's the best approach? Well, it starts with predictable structure that actually honors their creativity. Building these simple daily steps into your routine works absolute wonders. In the morning, kick things off with a single what-if question just to spark their brain. In the evening, ask them to share one imaginative highlight or dream from their day to help them process their thoughts. And weekly, dedicate some real time for a creative project where there is zero judgment on the final product. Praise the process, not the output. This gives them a safe, contained space to just let their minds explore without the crushing pressure of perfectionism.
Now at home, empathetic reframing is literally your greatest tool. Try setting up a story box full of random, completely unconnected objects to prompt some spontaneous storytelling. And when that intense imagination turns into anxiety, reframe it. Ask them, hey, what would your superhero self do to solve this worry? Take their wild imaginary inventions and spend a Sunday afternoon building a simple physical prototype out of cardboard. And crucially, when you see them spiraling into escapism or panic, gently bring them back to reality with the 5-4-3-2-1 sensory check-in. Have them name 5 things they can see, 4 they can touch. You get the idea. It grounds them right back in the present moment.
For the educators tuning in, accommodating what we call productive daydreaming is a total game changer. Allowing a student to doodle or draw a mind map while listening, that isn't letting them off the hook. It actually significantly improves their cognitive processing and focus. Give them choices. Let them write a fictional story from a historical figure's perspective instead of just turning in a dry standard report. Give them tiered tasks, like finish the core work, and then go create an alternate ending. And whenever you can, group students with similar intensities together. The collaborative invention that comes out of those pairings is absolutely astounding.
It is absolutely vital that we address the edge cases too, particularly twice exceptional or 2E children. This happens when giftedness and imaginational overexcitability overlap with other neurodivergent traits like clinical ADHD, autism, or anxiety disorders. In these situations, you really have to look at the whole child. You can't just nurture the imagination and ignore their need for sensory support, right? Nor can you just treat the ADHD and accidentally suppress that incredible creative drive. It requires a really nuanced, combined approach to make sure all of their unique needs are being met.
So, the crucial point we keep coming back to today is a total shift in our own adult mindset and our language. We have got to stop saying things like, stop daydreaming, pay attention, or be realistic. Instead, we need to pause and ask ourselves, how can we actually use this child's incredible, visionary gift to engage them in the task right in front of us?
Section 3. Empowering Gifted Minds, Context and Resources.
You know, environment and culture play a massive role in how this trait is expressed and supported. For instance, in South African contexts, parents and educators have this amazing opportunity to leverage rich, local oral storytelling traditions and indigenous myths. Connecting a child's intense inner world to community arts programs or historical storytelling provides a culturally resonant, deeply grounded outlet. It validates their wild imagination while beautifully connecting them right back to their heritage.
And to really help you on this journey of nurturing these exceptional minds, I want to emphasize that the incredible insights in today's explainer come directly from Gifted Children South Africa. They are doing absolutely fantastic work in this space. I highly encourage you to go have a look through their website to access practical guides tailored specifically for parents and educators. You can download a ton of their free resources today just by visiting giftedchildrensouthafrica.org. Seriously, it's a fantastic starting point for turning everything we've talked about into daily habits.
Imaginational overexcitability is a true hallmark of creative giftedness. When we nurture it, it leads to extraordinary originality, pure joy, and it literally lays the foundation for our future artists, inventors, and visionary leaders. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought for today's explainer. If we completely stop treating a vivid imagination as a behavioral problem that needs fixing, how will you help the gifted child in your life turn their rich inner world into our future reality?